All right, romance fans, are you ready for another deep dive with us?
Always ready.
Okay, so today we're tackling Wild Love by Elsie Silver. This is the first book in her new Rose Hill series, and it's got a couple of super popular tropes. So, single dad and brother's best friend.
Yep, two of my favorites.
Mine too, honestly, like, who doesn't love a protective older brother looking out for his little sister?
Right, but the question is, does wild love live up to the hype?
That's what we're here to find out. So, the drill, we've got a stack of reviews, and we're going to break it all down for you to help you decide if Wild Love deserves a spot on your TBR.
And I'll give you a little spoiler alert right off the bat.
Oh, good. Do tell.
It's getting kind of a lukewarm reception. I'd say like a 3 out of 5 stars from most reviewers. It's good, but not great.
3 out of 5 for an Elsie Silver book. That's surprising, especially with those popular tropes. You think it'd be a slam dunk, so what's holding it back?
Well, a lot of the reviews point to the character development, or I guess the lack thereof.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So take Ford the hero. He's supposed to be this, shy billionaire.
Okay, yeah, that tracks with the brother's best friend trope.
Right. But his actions don't really match up. There's this one scene where he throws this, lavish party.
Fancy.
Yeah, super fancy, but then he just spends the whole night hiding in his office. Like, what?
That doesn't really scream shy billionaire, does it? It seems a bit inconsistent.
Exactly. And it's not just Ford. A lot of readers felt like both his and Rosie's personalities were more told than shown.
Oh, that's one of my biggest pet peeves as a reader. Like, show me, don't tell me.
Right.
Okay, so maybe not the most well-developed characters,
Mm.
but how's the romance itself? Does it at least sizzle?
Sadly, no, not really. That's another area where Wild Love fell kind of flat for a lot of reviewers. It's missing that spark and tension you find in some of Silver's other books.
Oh, man, I hate when the chemistry just isn't there. Like, you need those fireworks.
For sure, it can really drag down a whole book.
Totally. Okay, so maybe not Silver's strongest work when it comes to the romance. But what about the single dad element? She usually nails that trope.
So this one actually has a bit of a twist on the single dad trope.
Ooh, I do love a good twist. Lay it on me.
So Ford actually discovers he has a 12-year-old daughter he never knew about.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so suddenly he's thrown into fatherhood. It adds this whole new layer to the story because now both he and Rosie have to figure out this new dynamic.
Okay, I can see how that would create some really heartwarming moments.
Hmm.
Maybe even some funny ones, too. But how's the kid? I mean, kids in romance novels can be a bit hit or miss, let's be honest.
This is where Wild Love really shines.
Right.
Yeah, Silver actually gets a lot of praise for her portrayal of Cora Ford's daughter. Reviewers loved that she acts like an actual 12-year-old.
That's so important.
Right, she's got all the sass and the vulnerability that comes with that age, and she really brings a lot of heart to the story.
Okay, so it's not all bad news. We've got a well-written kid and a unique twist on the single dad trope. But to give our listeners even more context, how does Wild Love stack up against Silver's other books?
So if you look at her bibliography, you'll notice a bit of a pattern. Her first books in a series tend to be, decent, but not her best.
Interesting. Go on.
Like, take Flawless from her Chestnut Spring series, or Off to the Races from Gold Rush Ranch.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Those were good, but not her most memorable.
Exactly. They had similar receptions as Wild Love enjoyable reads, but not, mind-blowing.
Interesting. So maybe Wild Love is just setting the stage for some truly amazing books later on in this Rose Hill series.
It's definitely possible Silver has a knack for creating these really immersive worlds, so I'm hopeful that Rose Hill will become just as beloved as her other fictional towns.
I hope so too. But for now, we've got to focus on Wild Love. Is it worth our listeners' time?
Well, that depends. What are you looking for in a romance?
Good point.
Like, if you're brand new to Elsie Silver and you just love single dad romances, Wild Love is a decent place to start.
Yep.
But if you want a truly, captivating single dad story, I'd honestly recommend Heartless instead.
Yeah, that's a good call. Heartless is definitely one of my favorites from her backlist.
And if you're already, a diehard Elsie Silver fan, then yeah, Wild Love is a perfectly fine way to spend an afternoon, But you might want to, temper those expectations just a little.
Yeah, I'd probably not going to end up on your favorites list.
Right, especially if you're someone who, really prioritizes strong characters and that, undeniable, can't put it down chemistry.
Yeah, true. Okay, so maybe a maybe for some readers, but not a must-read for everyone. That makes sense. Now, I got to ask, what about the series? Potential picks? Rose Hill is a brand new world for Silver's readers. Does this first book make you excited to see more of this town and its characters?
Okay, that's where things get interesting. Because remember, this is just the first book in a series that's going to focus on 4 single fathers, and we get glimpses of the other dads throughout the story. West, in particular, I think has the potential to be a real fan favorite. He's Ford's best friend. And from what we see in Wild Love, he's got that like protective alpha energy that readers just eat up.
Protective alpha energy. Huh.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I'm not always sold on the whole alpha male thing. Sometimes it feels a bit overdone. Yeah. What makes West different?
Well, it's hard to say for sure based on just this first book, but there are some hints that West might be a little more complex than your typical alpha hero.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a backstory that suggests some vulnerability beneath that tough exterior. So I'm really curious to see how Silver develops his character in the later books.
Okay, that does make me a little more intrigued. So the big question is, will those subsequent books featuring the other dads, deliver that depth and that spark that some readers felt was missing in Wild Love? Could Rose Hill become as beloved as Silver's other fictional towns like Chestnut Springs?
Exactly. And that's something readers will have to decide for themselves. But I think there's a lot of potential for this Rose Hill series to really take off. Silver has this amazing talent for creating these charming small towns that readers just fall in love with. And with like 3 more single dads waiting in the wings, there's tons of room for really heartwarming romances and engaging storylines.
Totally agree. But for our listener who's already familiar with Silver's work and is maybe feeling a little hesitant about Wild Love, what's your final piece of advice?
Here's the thing. Wild Love isn't a bad book. It's well written. It's entertaining. It's got those like signature heartwarming moments that Silver's known for, but it's just not her most compelling work. You know, if you're craving that like signature Elsie Silver magic, the kind that leaves you breathless and reaching for the next book in the series, then yeah, you might be a little disappointed with this one.
So manage those expectations, folks. Wild Love is a perfectly enjoyable way to spend an afternoon, but don't go in expecting to be totally blown away.
Exactly. It's a light and enjoyable read, but it lacks the depth and intensity of some of her other books. If you're okay with that, then go for it. But if you're looking for a truly unforgettable romance, you might want to revisit some of her earlier work.
Solid advice.
Okay.
I think we've covered just about everything on Wild Love. We've analyzed the characters, dissected the romance, pondered this series' potential. But now it's time to turn it over to you, dear listener. What stood out to you in these reviews? Was it the single dad element, the small town setting, or maybe those steamy office scenes? Let us know in the comments. And hey, while you're there, tell us which Elsie Silver book is your all-time favorite.
Yeah.
We're always up for a good romance recommendation. Until next time, happy reading. It's funny, we spent all this time dissecting a single book, but it really highlights how different everyone's tastes are.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
What might feel flat for one person totally works for another.
Right. So for our listener who's still on the fence about Wild Love, just trust your gut. If the premise sounds fun and you're in the mood for something light and easy, go for it. But if you're looking for something truly, groundbreaking, you might want to check out some of Silver's other books, or maybe even a totally different author.
I agree. And even if Wild Love doesn't become your new favorite, it might make you curious about the Rose Hill series as a whole. I mean, there are 3 more single dads out there just waiting to tell their stories.
That's true.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe one of them will become your next book boyfriend.
Maybe West with his protective alpha energy.
Ooh, maybe. All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. We hope this deep dive into Wild Love has helped you make up your mind whether to add it to your TBR.
And if you've already read it, let us know what you thought. Did it live up to the hype, or were you hoping for a little more?
Yeah, jump into the comments and let us know your thoughts. And hey, while you're there, tell us which Elsie Silver book is your all-time favorite. We love a good recommendation.
Always looking for more books to add to the never-ending TBR pile.
Amen to that. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive, and until next time, happy reading.